In YouTube ready? Don't start. Okay, we are now recording.
Okay.
Hello. And welcome to the IPFS weekly call. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
So before we start our presentations, if you can just please put your name in our notes, that would be great. I'll put that in the chat.
Okay.
Just put your handle. We'd like to know who attends our calls. It's nice, it's useful. Okay. And so for today's call, we are going to hear from Paula. Paula's a lot of things. She's a student. She does hardware, security, and a Renaissance hacker. So she'll be talking about the centralized web and IPFS. But before we begin with Paula, we will start with Alan. Alan last week created a package manager, and he's going to show it to us and give us an introduction. So Alan, take it away.
Okay, so let me just pick the right screen to cast. No, here we go. I think so. Oh, why can't I see it? Okay, here we go. Sorry, everyone. Move over. Okay, can you see this desktop now? Okay, sorry about that. Oh, you'd think I'm new to these sorts of things. Anyway, hi. It's not quite a package manager, but it is a way of managing the IPFS installs you have, like both the versions that you have installed, as well as the implementations. So as a lot of us already know, there are two kind of main implementations of IPFS going at the moment. There is the Go IPFS implementation and the JS IPFS version. And so this is a tool for developers to help you to manage them or use them. And so it needs Node installed. You can install the tool by typing npm install-g IIM. I called it IPFS install manager. I thought it was lame at first, but now I've grown to love it because it has. So anyway, once you have installed it, you have this handy command line tool called IM on your command line. And it has basically one really useful command called use. And use allows you to select the IPFS implementation you want to use, as well as optionally a particular version. So, so let's give it a demo. So I don't have an IPFS installed at the moment, so that's cool. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to do I'm use Go. Yes, us use. Here we go. So it's selected a Go IPFS version. This is the current latest version of Go IPFS, and it's currently installing Go IPFS for me, which shouldn't take too long. But once it's done, I should have an IPFS ready for you to use. So wait, here it comes. Come on.
I love your loading indicator.
Install. Right. Here we go. So it's installed Go IPFS. The binary got put at this location. So everything gets installed into your home directory under a folder called .iim. So it's all kind of nicely separated from anything else on your system. And then what it does is it initializes IPFS. So you don't need to run IPFS init before you start using it. And then I should just have a IPFS here. And that should be my Go IPFS version. And then I could do something like I'm use go, and then I can specify a particular version, like the previous version, and it will go away and install it for me. So give that a second. So what's happening now is it's going away to npm, and because on npm there's a package called go IPFS dep, which has a pre-built version of Go in it. It's bringing that down from npm, and it's installed it for me. And now I should just have a, hey, can whoever's whistling please mute? Thank you. IPFS. So I should now have a version of IPFS at the previous version. So that's fun times, right? What else can we do? So we can use this as we normally would. IPFS daemon, and it should just start up as usual. There it is. It's all ready to use. So it works. So that's good. So then let's use JS, and let's specify 0.33. So now this one is interesting because it's gone away. So this is interesting because I specified 0.33 and not anything else. And what's happened here is that it's gone away and asked npm for all of the versions of JS IPFS. And it's kind of auto made this into a version range, and it's selected the most recent version of the 0.33 series of JS IPFS. And once it's selected that, it goes ahead and installs it. And this is just doing an npm install IPFS at 0.33.1. And this will take a little bit longer than the Go IPFS one because it's actually installing JS IPFS and all of the packages that JS IPFS depends on. So it's making requests for each one to run up one of those packages, and then any kind of pre-built or any native code that needs to be compiled will also be compiled, and so all of that stuff needs to happen. Whereas for Go IPFS, it's a pre-built binary that's just uploaded to npm, so that just comes down a lot quicker. But the good thing is, once you've installed it once, then and you switch to using it again, you only have to do this install process once for each version that you installed and used. So eventually, this will finish installing if I'm really lucky, after it compiles all this stuff. So wait. The spinners, by the way, are this module called Aura, which is super good. It makes making command line spinners and ticks and things really easy. I totally recommend it. So what this one did was it installed JS IPFS. It installed the binary here, and it initialized it as it did with Go IPFS. And one important thing that it didn't do with what we didn't do with Go IPFS was it configured IPFS. And what that means is it set the ports that JS IPFS runs on to be the same ports as Go runs on. And that's just so you can switch out the two without having to reconfigure them. And it means that if I type IPFS version here, I've now got my JS IPFS, and it's using the same binary name. So I don't have to type JS IPFS, I can just type IPFS. And if I start up IPFS daemon here, we can have a look and see that the gateway is running on port 8080, the API is listening on port 5001, and we've got Swarm on like 4001. And that, if you look up here, is the same as the defaults that we get for Go IPFS. So 8080, 5001, and we got 4001 over there. So it's switched them out without having to reconfigure and stuff. So that's really useful, and it means that with tools like Companion, I can configure it to point to an external IPFS once and not have to reconfigure it when I switch between different implementations. So that's kind of cool. So really quickly, I'm almost done. There's the common problem of if you don't have access. So what happens is when things get installed is that it symlinks to user local bin, and that means that I could just type IPFS on the command line. Sometimes in some systems you don't have access to. Hang on, let me just start this up and use go. Let's just do that. Sometimes in other systems other than Mac OS, you don't have access to user local bin. You don't have write access to it. So there's a common problem where people try and install a new version, and then it tries to do this symlink, and it will fail because you don't have write permissions. Now, what we don't really want is to have to like go through the whole of the install process using a privileged users, or a user with escalated privileges. So what this what I'm allows you to do is, so you can see here, because I don't have write access to user local lib, it's failed to link it. But I've got this cool utility called link. Oh, yeah, fine. Which will go ahead and create that symlink, and that's all it does as an escalated user. So you don't have to go through the whole install process, but you can fix it up, and I can do IPFS version as normal. So that's kind of cool. And then because it means that people who don't have access to user local bin can still put a binary on their command line. And final thing, there is also a handy I'm info command, which tells you what current version you've got installed, where that repo path is, because it actually separates the repos out as well, so we don't get problems with interop between different implementations or different versions of repo if you go back to like a really old IPFS that doesn't have the same repo compatibility as another. So it just gives you a bit of info. That's it. Thank you very much for listening. And yeah, sorry that took so long.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you.
So I wish I had this tool 2 months ago when I was switching between versions. This is great. What I would like to see, you have a Go implementation and a JavaScript implementation. It would be interesting. We have various community APIs like Python, and it'll be interesting if they could use this tool and also have like an install of IPFS.
If you can put it on NPM, then you can put it.
Only on NPM, okay.
Because they both come from NPM at the moment.
Well, what about Go? But it seems like you're also using Go as well.
Yeah, but like I said, it's Go. There's a module called Go IPFS dep in NPM, which has a version of Go bundled in it.
So if someone wanted to use it in another language, okay.
Yeah. If you can do the same, but with Python or PHP or whatever, then yeah, conceivably you can do it. But I don't think NPM will be the transport and CDN for all of these things forever. It's just that was the easiest way to get this thing up and running. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. We are running short on time, so I see several questions. So there are two things you can do. If you have questions, if you can leave them in the comment section of YouTube, that'd be great. And which would probably be a better option, here is the repo. So if you have a question, if you would like to help out with this project, you can go to the repo and put in an issue. Thank you again. Thank you very much, Alan. All right, it's time for our next presenter, which is Paula. And Paula will show us about the decentralized web and introduce IPFS to us, IPFS to the audience. So Paula?
Hi.
Hey.
Shall I share the screen?
Yeah. Can you show us some of your slides, please?
Yeah.
So for share, look in the bottom of your screen, and there should be a button that says share, and it's green.
I cannot find it.
I'll send you a screenshot.
Okay, thank you.
So in the meantime, while we're changing speakers, we can answer one question for the previous presenter. So Johnny Crunch, so how do you verify the authenticity of the binary? Are you validating a signed binary from GitHub? So we can answer like one question.
I do not know the process of the module Go IPFS depth for doing that. I don't know how that happens. So I would recommend going and having a look at that particular module. I'll link it in the notes in a second. But yeah, I guess it would be. I think it's essentially a manual process of updating that library to. I think it's like a manual process of updating that library to use this binary. So I guess it's as long as you download it and verify it yourself, and then get it pushed up to npm, then it should be what you say it is.
Okay, excellent. We can go to awesome. Okay, let's go to the next presentation. Excuse me, Paula is up and running. So Paula, take it away.
So you guys can see the screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to introduce this presentation. I use this presentation in FOSDEM, which is an event of freedom of the software. I try to introduce IPFS in general, like the basic use, specifically for Linux. But I also wanted to talk about censorship, distributed internet, what are the future of the internet in general, and how IPFS is involved in all of this. So first of all, Portia already said that I'm a security analyst. I'm also the founder of an association in Spain called Interferencias, which is about digital rights, privacy, and security in general. And I've also studied investigative journalism in order to teach about all of these topics. So, as I said, actually, the IPFS introduction I gave you here is quite basic. I wanted to create an analogy with Fahrenheit 451. You already heard about it. It's a science fiction story that pictures a society in which firefighters are commanded to burn books. So there's a lack of culture in general in society because there's a lot of stories that are being lost and data in general that is being lost. So there's a group of rebels that are trying to learn by heart some books in order to preserve this culture. So I think IPFS has the same philosophy. And I thought it would be an interesting point to think about the internet from this point of view. Our context right now is that we live surrounded by tech. We let tech to be an important part in our lives. We are in the information age, and internet proved it right. Actually, the first message sent on the internet was hello, almost 50 years ago. It was supposed to be login, but the internet broke. And now, nowadays, 50 years later, our way of communication is based on how fast we can talk to each other. I'm talking to you right now because of this. But this is also compromising because if we have barely time to think about what we post on the internet. We probably have barely think about the consequences of what we post on the internet. So, for example, I think that IPFS and the fact that all the data is going to be always on the network creates responsibility on the users. Also, on the other hand, as I picture here, we have censorship. Internet censorship is a huge problem nowadays. It's indeed happens in so many countries. I would say massive data supervillains is also being very normalized. So basically, censorship usually involves blacklisting, DNS logging, and such. And I think IPFS is a great resource before going against this kind of techniques. So we know that our current way of thinking about the internet had so many problems. It was supposed to be open, free, place without walls where everyone can share their thoughts. And this is not going to happen if we keep thinking on the internet this way. So it's okay if we can start thinking about a distributed way of working on the internet. And I think IPFS has a strong role in all of this. Because IPFS has a distributed way of thinking, horizontal, is resilience against, um, well, blockings on the internet, accidents, and that kind of things. And it also has the open philosophy that was already the first things on the internet. But it has difficult names, as some of us already know, because it's based on hashes. The address change if the content change because the identification is related with the content. And also in general, distributed internet is not a very intuitive idea for current users, which are used to a centralized system either in real lives and the digital lives. So what does this IPFS has to do with all of this? First of all, well, as I already said, it has a very easy setup. Here is that you download it, open it, install, and it's ready to use. This is an example on how to upload a file. It breaks and divides in different blocks. And each block has the metadata information that is needed to join it again. We can also use only blocks, so it will not divide, but it has different commands. So here, for example, we are updating the network, uploading a picture of the body. So we have to start the demo, as we already have seen before in the last presentation. And then there's here is the file which is downloaded. As we can see, this is the name with the hash, and this is the original one. We can get also a lot of information about the files and the logs using different commands. So there's also some information for creating APIs. So for example, for JavaScript or for Go, two of the most interesting applications I've seen are Kircore and Brick. Kircore can be used with Ethereum, and Brick is some kind of Git, but using distributed system. So it's very interesting. So we've seen IPFS is a reality. It's easy to set up, it's easy to use and to apply for creating tools, but we are facing some challenges here. First of all, we are facing social challenge, and on the other hand, we are facing technical challenge. Social challenge because we have to fight against the internet of censorship, which are led by governments and some companies. We also have to fight against centralized-minded users, as I already said before. We also have technical issues because there are no secrets once we have a hash. So currently, it's not a pretty good way to store passwords and that kind of sensitive information. Uploading an infected block could mean infecting the network, as any distributed system in general. And also, like, there are nodes that are from all the community, and maybe they are using servers that are not servers or machines in general that are not secure. So you have to trust in the security of the network, which is horizontal. So as I already said, the social challenge are to stop censorship normalization because we are surrendered to fair internet context. And this is not right. And already, there's a lot of people that simply don't care because it's more comfortable to not care about that kind of things. Learning about decentralized system and try to educate not only in classic technologies but also in decentralized systems, and to understand that security is not magic. It has strong base. And as I already said, technical issues are not very likely to store secrets, create an attack that can affect all the network, and it's so cool that you can create stuff with IPFS in servers and containers, but it could also be compromising the network. This is related to the second one. So a way to maybe patch the first one, the hash thing, is to firstly encrypt it using the IPG and a public key. So only the person who wants to receive the message is going to read it or see it. Um, it's a problem because the information it's going to be stored in the network, but it's kind of a solution. Infecting a network is less likely to happen because it requires also social engineering to orchestrate this attack. But it's easily to understand what kind of users are going to be in the network right now. For example, Linux or iOS users. And finally, there's tons of vulnerabilities in containers and servers. So there is no way to see if the servers or the containers that are parts of the network are secure. We have no way to know if the network in general is secure. So, for example, we can use Scalar .NET to scan for vulnerabilities, use more secrets, ignoring sensitive files, that kind of things. So we are facing a lot of problems. There is an obvious question here is that if we should stop, we should give up on this. And I think absolutely not, because this one we are creating something new, and it's actually working really good. It just has some issues, like any other technology that has already started in the past. So we are the developers, the analysts, the admins, and it's our responsibility to face this kind of challenge. So absolutely, it's not time to stop, but to keep going on. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Paula.
Thank you.
Could you stop sharing your screen, please?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We were having some technical difficulties on our end, so we were able to see your mouse, but we weren't able to see like the slides actually change. So for everyone who's listening now, we will work on this and have like a better version uploaded later on this week. We are running short on time, but it would be nice to get a question or two in. So does anyone have any questions?
I also want to upload my presentation on IPFS, so probably this evening or so.
That is amazing. Upload it on IPFS. That is great. What we're also going to do is have this available on YouTube. Let's see, give me one moment. So apparently, the slides are on IPFS. Do you actually have the hash? Do you have the address of where your slides are located?
I want to put them today.
Okay, awesome. So once you put it up, just let me know and I'll let everyone else know.
Okay.
I have one question for you. Paula, you're also a journalist, correct? What are the implications of IPFS to journalists, if any?
In general, internet changed journalism. So, because it used to be just journalism sharing others' stories, and now there's a lot of people sharing their stories, and it's also considered journalism. So I think IPFS is a really interesting tool that journalism can use to share stories when they are facing difficult situations in difficult countries, when they are being tension or maybe they are facing like threatening about the data they are reading. So probably IPFS is a solution. So this information is not lost even though their computers or the notes are locally lost.
Excellent. So the information and the data is still there, even though computers as such are confiscated. And instances like this happen in places like Turkey, Egypt. So thank you very much. We are running a bit over. Hala, thank you for your talk. It was great.
Thank you.
We'll have a better uploaded version later on this week. We'll also have an address to Hala's slides. And I'll see everyone next week. Take care. Bye-bye.